turn your video on or off as makes you comfortable. So we are here together in safe space together. And so as we connect into our color of the day, yellow, bringing that joy and optimism in, let's just breathe that in from the heavens above into our crown chakra and let that color come down through our cranium. See that it is brushing through all of the bones of our head, bringing joy and optimism down into our necks and our hearts as well. I'm reminded of the first bottle of our series, the sun bottle, which really relates to the I am. So let's connect in our hearts to that I am presence and allow that color of yellow to deepen through our chest and into our chest cavity, our stomach, into our lower back, back through our arms, and out our fingers. Yes, do you feel the brightness? Do you feel the sparkles of the color yellow?
This is going into someone's home. This is going on a really large scale. So, like, this isn't just a picture. This is, someone might be color drenching. That's where they take one color on everything. And they are going to be looking at this color again in different lights, in different hemispheres, against different fabrics, against different floorings. All of that is going to influence the overall feeling that that color has. So it's actually quite nice that something so early on in my life has like benefited me and like almost given me like the perfect foundation to what I do now. When I was younger, I was quite embarrassed about it. Like, if I'm being like totally honest, like I really struggle, and it's ironic that I've written a book, but probably that maybe that's the loveliest thing about it. Is reading and writing for me wasn't second nature. Like my other two sisters, it came very naturally. Whereas it's so funny, like anything creative, like I just saw things very differently to them. And I was super fortunate. Like my mum growing up was an interior designer. And actually my dad's a marketeer, and they're both super creative. And they really championed that in me. Like they were like, Tash, like it's totally fine. Let's send you on this journey. Let's take you down, like being, that's probably why I fell into the world of wanting to be a chef or like starting doing art. I think, and it's so funny, the older I get, the more confident I become. I think when you're younger, it's almost like the norm. And I remember when we used to have to read out loud in class. Oh my God. Oh, like awful. Like for anyone like me who just, the idea of reading out loud, like the fear that would come with that. But if you then asked me to go and, I don't know, in front of 1,000 people, paint a picture, I'd be like, yeah, of course, I've got you.
Yeah.
And the tip, actually, if I was to give anyone on this call a tip, is don't just think, okay, I'm going to take this green and it's going to be calming. If I decorate my home, I'm going to have a calming bedroom. When actually, my biggest tip is we never see color in isolation. So it's the combination of colors around you that are going to influence how that room feels. So you need to think about, okay, what is your wall color? What's your flooring? What's your bedding? Like all of those, what's the lighting? All of that is going to play into the overall feel. So I think and that's what we try and do at Lick the whole time, is me just saying, right, okay, you're wanting to decorate your bedroom in a green because you're wanting that calming environment. Okay, let's then look, and this is where my interior design background comes in. Let's look at your floor, let's look at your bedding, let's look at your lighting, and then we can create that room that you want.
Color is the fastest unconscious way that we can use to self-regulate and to regulate how we are feeling. And quite often these colors now, neutral, there's no such thing in psychology as a neutral color, because every color will have an emotional impact on us. Yep. But these, what they talk normally, neutrals means very soft, very light colors. They're not asking a lot of us emotionally. So it's almost like we are using these colors to go onto an emotional pause. And we're holding,
like a little retreat into ourselves.
Well, yeah, because they're not asking anything of us. And if we are already if we're already in overwhelm, the world is too busy, it's too hectic, too chaotic, there's too much going on. The last thing we want to do for a lot of people, not for everyone, but for a lot of people, was to come home to a place that was on. But what I found a lot of people doing, they were virtually switching off. So they were coming in and they were using grey to calm them, to be calm. But what it was doing was almost draining them. Yeah. So I always think of the TV show Pointless, where the points go down. Yeah. It's almost like that. So you come in at this emotional state, and at some point grey, and then it goes from you thinking you're feeling calming to actually draining you. And then you're tired. So this I felt that was happening. And what it was a lot of the time was this emotional form of like a color silence. And when you do that, you're switching off who you are and you're switching off your emotions. So that's what I saw happening a lot. And then when that happens, then there's a disconnect, right? Then we're disconnected from who we are. And we've lost sight of who we are, because what we're in safety mode, and we're trying to keep ourselves safe. Biophilic design is a growing trend. I hope it doesn't become like stay a trend, that it actually becomes mainstream. Because what I do and biophilic design, it's rooted in nature. That's for sure. What biophilic design, and biophilic just means for the love of nature, or biophilia. What's happened though with biophilic design, if I can just say this quickly, is that the shorthand, again, because we always want something quick and fast and easy, it's human nature. Biophilic design has become green walls, brown furniture, and plants. And that is one aspect of nature, because when you think about all the colors that we see in nature, they are all nature's color palette, and that's all, throughout the different seasons. But we tend just to use those two colors. And I know a lot of designers that say, oh, I'm bored of biophilic design now because that's all I can use. So I'm explaining to them, well, actually, no, you've got all of nature's color palettes. So the work that I do dovetails really beautifully into biophilic design, because I look at color psychology, design psychology, and color harmony, and it's as nature intended and as nature uses it, because nature is, my greatest teacher. I know it's, for many of us, it's our greatest teacher. And nature uses everything with purpose. Nothing is random. Everything has a meaning. And if we tap into this and how we can look to the environment, and not the environment we've created, but actually, again, as nature intended, it offers us really, really powerful cues about how we respond and emotionally behave. So what I do and what I believe really needs to happen is that we align who we are and our behaviors and our well-being to nature. So therefore, because nature is what is familiar to us, all this AI and all this digital, it's not familiar to us, but nature is. And not just green, even though here in the UK, the predominant color is green. It's not, I don't mean that. I mean all of nature and how we can use that to harness, to create the environments that feel supportive and still safe, but these environments that we can thrive in, because we just have this this deep human need for connection and for calibrating, and we're always calibrating what makes sense to us, and we're calibrating what feels familiar and right to us, and that's the environment, and that's how we want to live. So I think color psychology is only going to grow, especially as we move deeper into a world shaped by AI and automation and the increasingly complex systems that we're living in. Because as technology advances, there is going to be this disconnect, right? I think this is the theme throughout all of this. Is
it's a challenge.
We're disconnecting from ourselves, we're disconnecting from nature, and we are disconnecting what it means to be human. And in fact, on my website, I've got a quote that goes something like, and I actually wrote this in during lockdown because I just felt very strong towards this, that every step we take away from nature, we take away from ourselves and what it means to be human. And I think this is really, and I'm seeing this just happening more and more and more. So we're being pulled towards speed, efficiency, optimizing, almost like robots. The world, everything is getting faster, quicker. And yes, everything is online. We don't have paper anymore, but gosh, it's not what I signed up for. And what we actually need is we need to reconnect inwards. This is what truly supports us. And this is what I believe applied color and design psychology brings us, back into it. It reconnects us back to our natural rhythms, back to our natural response, our biological, natural response, our to color. And it also reminds us that we are nature. And I think that's really, really important, because we need to have this balance back. And that's why I do use AI. I do online banking. I do all these sorts of things, but I absolutely make sure that more of me is rooted in nature. And I don't mean going out in nature every day, even though, I go into my garden stuff, but I make sure I don't get caught up in this digital frantic world where it's consuming quicker, scrolling faster, all of this, because if we don't stop and just reconnect back to ourselves, and sometimes it is taking your shoes off, bare feet, and earthing. I mean, when they say earthing, it is not on concrete, is on, take it on grass,
Mother Earth,
and you earth. Yeah, it's so important. So we really, I believe, again, we need to work from the inside out, because as there's this increasing disconnect with ourselves, that means that we're disconnecting with others, and we're disconnecting with the world around us, and we will just be sleepwalking into I don't know what.
Wherever.
So yeah.
Who doesn't love a fun fact? I wish I could see your hands up, because I know everyone loves a fun fact. So this fun fact is related to branding, and what we want you to understand as being part of the Foundation of Color and this Power of Color Summit, that color can increase your brand recognition by up to 80%, just color, which I find fascinating. And consumers make subconscious judgments about a brand within 90 seconds. And up to 80%, up to 90% of that assessment is based on the colors that you choose for your brand. And I find this fascinating, because for the first 20 years of my career, I didn't understand the power of color. I didn't recognize the energy I was working with, because they don't teach you that in school. For my, like, where I went to design school, very small period of time was focused on color.
I mean, I'm not surprised, because if you look at a logo, the color, it is absorbed faster by your body than the text by your brain. So you will make a decision based on a product or a service based on its color long before you even read what the company is called. To launch your business. That starting date is like a birthday for an organization. Your birthday is important, but the organization is also important. So we looked at Amazon, and it was founded on the 5th of July, 1994. When you add those 5, the 7th month and the 1994 up, it comes to 35. In numerology, we bring everything down to a number between 1 and 9. So 3 and 5 has to be added up to narrow it down to a number between 1 and 9. And of course, there we have 8. Using the color mirror system, when we look at colors associated with those numbers, we would look at those colors as the birthday colors or the founding colors, the colors that says they almost can predict in a way what is going to happen to this organization. You know, what are the colors for the future, the colors for now, the colors for the in-between. And there we have 5, which is green. I love the green because Amazon, you think of the Amazon jungle. And there you've got turquoise, you think of the Amazon River. So the colors of almost behind Amazon, the intention there is to be grand and big. This is about the lungs of the planet as well, which of course we know is controversial. Even the Amazon forest itself is going through a dark time. Then you've got 35 and 8 almost as a life path number for this organization. And 35 is got that beautiful like blue lilac color sitting on pale green. So there's a spiritual component to this organization. And then the green at the bottom is also about, you know, changing the way people view things, changing spaces, changing the way people work, way people earn money. It all kind of sits there very quietly in that green, which is always about new beginnings. The 8 is interesting because the 8, as most of you know who love numerology, is the number of abundance. So here's it's an organization that is definitely going to become abundant. So in the early days, if you looked at this logo long before Amazon became the giant in the industry that it is, you could have said, yeah, I predict this is going to be a really, really abundant organization. And I should have bought shares in the company. Fabulous. So if you're a life path 3, you are this yummy peachy coral color, and you are ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is the biggest planet. So it's going to challenge you to expand. So in business, you would be somebody who has who's the ideas person. You can see opportunities for expansion and growth. You really have that long-term view. The personality of a life path 3 is you're very charismatic, very ambitious, and you are like a celestial conductor. So think about a conductor in an orchestra. You can kind of go, yeah, do you do this, you do that, and you're a very good delegator. The learning in the Coral 3 life path is you have to learn to put yourself under the spotlight on a stage. You cannot nominate somebody else to go and sell your ideas, your products, or your company for you. You need to put yourself front and forward and visible. The kind of branding that would help you is make it that it's something beyond the cosmos, beyond the ordinary. It's spectacular. You want spectacular in there. It's beyond borders. You must encourage people to see your business from a different point of view, a different perspective, because you are going to come up with something grand and amazing. The marketing message that would help you sell your product and service is encourage people to understand that what you're offering them is going to expand them beyond limitations. Have them see the bigger picture. What's the end result? Yes, they might take longer taking your form of therapy, but the end is going to be really spectacular. See the bigger picture. It's going to work really well if you say that the kind of products and service you offer is going to move you from where you felt constrained and limited to future possibilities of limitlessness. One of the examples I can give you for Life Path 3 is a massage therapist. So massage therapists could be working independently by themselves. But what happens when a young lady who's a massage therapist wants to take a vacation or wants to go on maternity leave? the money's going to stop. If they're not working, they're not earning. So if you're on a life path 3, you need to think ahead. You need to have that long-term view that says, okay, I need to make sure that I have somebody that can stand in for me and service my clients for me so that I still have some income coming in. Possibly set up a massage practice where you have more than one person helping you. So this life path 3, you have to think bigger. You need to expand to really, because in a life path 3, you have the ability to make a lot of money.
And as I get to the other side of that experience, I realize I've reached a new level of awareness, a whole new level of awareness. And I fully understand now that purpose is not something that announces itself with a fanfare. It whispers and it nudges. And when you're still enough to listen and brave and bold enough to move, it carries you forward. When was the last time you got really still to sense your own true power? True power is not a destination. True power is a continuous walk through our deepest fears, guided by an unwavering commitment to our highest vision of ourselves. It requires patience in preparation, courage in execution, and the wisdom to know when to leap and when to wait.
And so I think to myself, what's going to make me really attractive to other rowers? And then I go, I've got it. I know I need to become a steers person. Now, a steers person is the person that actually steers the boat. They sit right at the back of the boat, make sure that you don't bash into the bank, don't bash into a bridge or another boat. And you're rowing at the same time. So you do have to be really coordinated. And in that moment, these words come back to me of a friend of mine who, when I started rowing and was really excited about it, going, look what I'm doing, said to me, and he was very sporty. He was like badminton champion at 18 or something. Are you sure about this rowing thing, Kate? Because you're not very coordinated, are you? Have you ever had that? When you're ready to leave an old identity and people try to drag you and pull you back to what they know you as and not allowing you to grow and evolve. Anyway, I learn, and I'm very lucky because I have a wonderful group of women around me in the ladies squad, and they all cheer me on and encourage me and give me lots of opportunity to practice and get good at this steering lark. And then the magic happens. It's 2 or 3 months later, and a group of women asked me, would I like to go in a boat with them for the next head? And I said yes. I was so thrilled that someone had seen me, asked me to take part, and it was so unexpected. What's the best way to answer it? I suppose what we're talking about, and a lot of what we're talking about throughout the whole of this summit, whichever of the sessions that you listen to, is really about energy. So a way of describing it in another way is, have you ever walked into a boardroom or into a place at work and it's like there's an odd feeling, it's like a smell, and you can, like, something awful's gone on here. And you know, even though you weren't there, you didn't hear anybody raising their voice, you know that somebody's been having an argument because it just feels really uncomfortable. That's kind of what energy is. And in a way, energy is another way, if you like, of saying the space in between. And so what we can do is intentionally create that space in between. So even though we haven't been doing it in your presence, Kath, Elaine and I have been holding the container for this summit because we want everyone to shine really brightly so that you get all the juiciness from every, talk and every bit of the, the meat on the bone, so to speak. And so that's been the intention throughout, and that we're continuing to hold. And it's also why we're quite tired, because it takes quite a lot of energy to do that. And that is part of what we're talking about when we're talking about the space in between. And it goes back to what Lisa Cavender was talking about yesterday when she was talking about net worth, and how it comes not through seeking the money, like power doesn't come from seeking the power, but actually tending to ourselves, tending to our own needs, our own energy, knowing when we have to stop and have a break or a nap or whatever it happens to be. And then consciously creating that space between us. And it's definitely something we'll be going into more of in our course, The Dharma of Business.
If I could just add just a little bit, and maybe that's a way to wrap up. I mean, yesterday we were talking about how business is changing and we're moving more into the feminization of business. And I think that's exciting. That's this idea that we're more interested in how people feel, getting them passionate, loving what they do, connecting, because we know that collaboration is at the heart of everything we do. And we know that actually that is the way to win. We win together, not through competition. And the masculine way, and when I say this, I'm not in any way saying that, you know, the men are a dreadful race and, you know, they've been doing it badly for so long, because we all have masculine energy and feminine energy. It resides in each and every one of us. So making reference only to merely the fact that businesses have been more masculine energy dominated. So the rational mind taking over, the logic, the facts, the reason, and the emotions have been left at the door. Well, that has changed and it is changing, and those walls are being brought down. So if we're talking about the space, we're talking about that feminization. We're peppering and perfuming a room, a boardroom, with joy and connection and love and creativity. Now, wouldn't that be something else?
We are going to die, and if we die, someone is going to grieve. And yet, in a not so long ago survey, 75% of the population said they don't like talking about death and grief. So we've got a real mismatch of how much grief goes on in the world, you know, individually and collectively, and how much we talk about it and deal with it. It's a taboo subject, particularly in the West, where death isn't talked about. Grief often isn't allowed to be have time to maneuver through it and integrate it into your life, which is really makes things difficult. And that on top of the fact that most people pile grief on top of other traumas that perhaps haven't been dealt with. So it becomes really, really a big thing, and can be really all consuming. We're going to bring these beautiful bottles in today to show you how gently we can help that integration process. We don't come into grief as a clean slate. As I said, we don't come into grief with nothing happened before us in our lives. So when we come into grief, we have had our life up till then, and that is going to really affect how we grieve.
Close your eyes or have a soft gaze. If you feel you'd like to close your eyes, but every now and again you might like to open it as we're going around to different bottles, so that you can just have that reminder. So here is just a little précis about all the 9 bottles. The first one is love and compassion, offering that unconditioned loving kindness. And then the heart faith bottle, offering you peace, calm, trusting all will be well, allowing you to perhaps wrap up all those painful emotions. And the hope bottle, lighting ahead, taking a step forward. The rose gold comfort, nurturing reassurance like a big hug, allowing transformation. And the divine healing, reconnection to your soul and allowing the soul guidance, not feeling isolated or alone. The safely held, the beautiful rose gold and the copper, feeling grounded, safe, supported.
We carry a lot of excessive energy within our brain when we don't ground it properly, especially if we channel a bunch of light codes and frequencies. And with this energy, it's coming in, going down through, now it's moving through the body. It's moving through every cell. It's not hitting the chakras yet, It's relaxing every part of your body, every muscle, the tension, the stress, as it's flowing through. Now it's about to the waist, continuing, grounding the energy in the body and the mind. And now this energy is coming down through the crown, almost like a waterfall. It is flowing very quickly down to the root and filling up your chakra column. Again, take a really big, deep breath. Breathe this in. And on the exhale, allow whatever this energy is grounding, allow it to go, knowing that you fully have access to it at all times because it is in your light column.